Today you find the exiled yellowbelly in the lovely little village of Ratlinghope in Shropshire, England, where I have come to find the grave of a person that I've been interested in coming and doing a story on for a long time. And that person is Richard Munslow, the last recorded sin eater who died in 1906. Now, if like me, the only reference you have ever heard of a sin eater is a 2003 film called The Order, starring the late great Heath Ledger as a sin eater, you probably assumed it was all made up. Now, getting back to the film, you probably all assumed it was made up like I did. But apparently the practice of sin eating was usually undertaken by beggars, the poor, or other social outcasts, to drink and eat over the corpse to take the sins of the suddenly deceased who had not been able to confess their sins or receive last orders before death. Sin eating would allow the deceased to move untroubled into heaven and prevent the sin-ridden dead from returning to the land of the living as ghosts and spirits. Because of the sin eaters' apparent abilities, they were usually shunned by the locals due to their association with evil spirits and witchcraft, and were only summoned when their services were needed. Now that sounds very much like double standards to me. Now this is the grave of the last sin eater, Richard Munslow. Now, the fact that Richard Munslow was a well-to-do farmer of good standing and not an outcast is unusual, but it is thought the tragic death of 4 of his children at a very early age, 3 of whom died of scarlet fever within 1 week of May of 1870, may be why he resurrected the ritual of sin eating. The sin eater would sit next to the deceased, facing the door, and be given a wooden plate with bread and a bowl of ale. He would then place the bread on the chest of the deceased or the head, where it was believed the bread would absorb the sins of the departed. And it would then be eaten by the sin eater and washed down with the bowl of ale in front of the watching mourners. He would then recite, "I give easement and rest now to thee. Dear man, come not down the lanes or in our meadows, and for thy peace I pawn my own soul. Amen." And he would then take his leave. The superstitious mourners would then burn the wooden plate the bread was laid on. I just want to look at this really lovely little church. It took some finding, I've got to say, but in the end we got here, and it really is a delightful little place. Now I don't believe it will be open, but what a lovely little church. So as you can see, the church was indeed open. And while I scrabbled around looking for a light switch, firstly, please let me apologise profusely to the villagers of Ratchup, as that is the proper pronunciation of Ratlinghope. So sorry about that. This church was established in 1209 as a priory church linked to the Augustinian Abbey at Wigmore. Now, I think this is a good time to thank local campaigners who raised £1,000 to restore the grave of Richard Munslow to highlight an important custom and Mr. Munslow's place in religious history. And to the Reverend Norman Morris, who in 2010 led the God's Acre service for the restoration of the Sin Eater's grave, which was a ritual which was solely practised in the English Welsh borders, North Wales, but was rarely carried out elsewhere. Well, I found the light switch. So here is the lovely church of St Margaret's at Ratlinghope. And it really is a lovely little church. Look at that. I'll try and find out a little bit more. There's a smallish church organ here. It's even got bells. I notice up here there is a plaque to Samuel Munslow, which I presume is an ancestor of Richard's. That's interesting. So it really is beautiful. The bell ropes up into the loft. Very nice indeed. Look at that old door. Well, if you're ever in Shropshire and you want to go looking for the church at St Margaret's in Ratlinghope, it really is worth coming here. So there, on a very miserable day weather-wise in Ratlinghope, which is a lovely village, I hope you found that an interesting story on my little mini tour of Shropshire. And if you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And when I record this, is now dinner time on New Year's Eve. Have a very happy New Year to all of you, and see you again soon. Take care.